The California Classic has wrapped up, and now the Sacramento Kings will head off to Vegas Summer League. But the California Classic was capped off with some pretty, I would say, exciting performances from some of the key guys for the Kings. Obviously, they lost by one, lost the Mitch Richmond trophy down in San Francisco. But still, I think the game for that team in San Francisco was probably the most encouraging game that I've seen from a lot of the guys that were playing. There's also the game that was being played in Sacramento, which I will talk about, but we'll start with the game in San Francisco. And so the guys that had played the first two games in Sacramento, at least the starters and a lot of the key guys, got moved down to San Francisco because they were competing for this Mitch Richmond trophy. And so it's Mason Jones, Keon Ellis, Colby Jones, Isaiah Crawford, Isaac Jones, Drew Timme, those guys. And I thought for a lot of them, it was their best game. And it was also the game against probably the toughest competition because the Warriors had guys like Brandon Pajemski and Trace Jackson Davis playing. And so I thought Colby Jones had his best game. I think Isaac Jones had his best game. And I think Isaiah Crawford had his best game. Keon Ellis also scored 30 points, but I don't even think it was really his best game. I think it was obviously his best in terms of scoring, but there definitely were some mistakes from him. Whereas, like, I think the first game of Summer League that he played was like really mistake free, but still a good performance from him. And so we can start off talking about Keon. And actually, before we do that, I want to go through the roster that's going to be going to Vegas because Keon is on that roster. I thought maybe he would just play the California Classic, but looks like he's going to be playing in Vegas. And so the other guys that are playing, Colby Jones, Isaac Jones, Mason Jones, Drew Timme, which is interesting because he was also on the Raptors roster. So don't know what's going on there. It seems like he'll play for the Kings, though. I mean, if he's playing for them in the California Classic, but I don't know what that's about. And then you have Xavier Sneed, Joe Lual Achul Jr., Dane Goodwin, Boogie Ellis, I don't know if I said him already, Antoine Davis, Isaiah Crawford, Ahmad Caver, Keenan Blackshear, and Adonis Arms. So it is a combination of the two teams, the two Kings Summer League teams, of the best players from it. I think the one omission is Jordan Ford, who didn't play in either of the last two games. And so Keon, what he showed is the ability to score on all three levels in this game. His three-point shot was falling, maybe not early on, but he got it falling later. He had a massive second half, scored 23 points, something like that in the second half alone. But the game didn't start off well for him. He was forcing things offensively. Like it didn't look great. He was turning the ball over. And I think for him, he looks really good when it's like he's catching and then, either he shoots or he pump fakes, takes a dribble into the mid-range and pulls up, or he makes the pass off that one dribble, or he comes around a screen and he kind of has a lot of time. And so kind of that secondary playmaking he looks really comfortable with. But it's when I think he gets into kind of different situations that aren't really simple, like pick and rolls. And so they take a little bit more skill to be able to read the game. It seems like things are a little sped up for him. And so he's not that, primary creator. But I think these are the right times to get him those reps. And the one thing that he does really well is get to his mid-range game. Throughout the summer league, he's been showing different ways that he's been able to score in the mid-range. He's been hitting turnaround jumpers and then just straight pull-ups. And he did that last season for the Kings as well. And so he looked really good from the mid-range. In terms of attacking the basket, he did get called for a charge in the first half. But then right out of the second half, the beginning of the second half, he kept attacking the rack, just kept going, and it kept working. And so that was really encouraging because that's something I've wanted to see from him is how does he attack the rim? And when he first picked up that charge, it was a little worrying. But then he showed the ability to attack the rim and finish in the second half. And he had this one really nice play where he looked like Harrison Barnes, where he's pump faking as he's taking another step, gets the guy in the air and draws the foul. And so that's really encouraging from him. He definitely learned that from Harrison Barnes. I think the one big worry with Keon is foul trouble. He picked up like 7 fouls in this game or something like that. And he's been doing that throughout Summer League so far. We saw a little bit of foul trouble last season with him. And so that's definitely something I'm worried about because he gambles a lot and that leads to fouls. And he did it at the end of the game when it was 90-90 and he gambles for a steal. It doesn't pay off. And Pajemski goes to the line. And Summer League is when you want to make those mistakes because you can't make those types of mistakes in the regular season. You can't lose games like that. The Kings lost games with dumb mistakes like that a lot last season. So hopefully it was a learning experience from him and he maybe won't gamble as much in those situations. But the scoring is super encouraging and the kind of simple playmaking is encouraging from him. Moving on to Colby Jones, who didn't look really all that good in the first 2 games that he played his Summer League, looked a lot better in this one. He hit a couple threes, including a sidestep three. And so that the sidestep three, that's very encouraging because shooting off the dribble is not something we've seen from him. He had a couple other shots off the dribble that did not look good. And so it's not like he makes one sidestep three and everything's better, but he did knock down a couple threes. He had one play where he was coming around on the wing and he took a movement 3-point shot. And so I think it's good that he has the confidence to take that, but he missed it pretty badly. And so those are the things that are going to take his game to the next level. But I do think his playmaking was good. He was making some good passes on the interior. And then his anticipation defensively is also very, very good. He's getting a few steals because for him, I mean, I've said it before, it's just all about the 3-point shot because he does a lot of other things really well. And that's something that I really hate, when I have to talk about it because it's just like for so many of these guys that play in Summer League that are, the 2-way contract guys or guys at the end of the bench, so much of it is just if they knock down their threes, then they're going to be good. You look at a guy like Kessler Edwards, it's like, oh, if he just knocks down his threes, he'll be good. Like last season, Jalen Slauson, yeah, if he knocks down his threes, he'll be good. But it's the truth. I mean, that's just how the NBA is. You can do a lot of things well, but if you can't shoot the ball well, it's going to be tough. And so speaking of that 3-point shooting, we saw Isaac Jones hit another three. And this was an amazing game for Isaac Jones. I just from this game alone, I'm all in on him because I think through the first 2 games, it's like we didn't see a lot from him, but like the little things we saw were kind of encouraging. I thought his 3-point stroke looked encouraging. He looked athletic, but we didn't see a lot of him. He wasn't really making his presence felt, and I think that's exactly what he did in this game. He had a really nice putback. I like when he cuts down the middle of the lane when the ball is under the rim. And when the ball is below the basket, it's on the baseline. He's always making those cuts. And with his athleticism, that's what he needs to do because he can finish at the rim. And so I like to see that from him. And then the one play that got me really excited was when he attacked a closeout and his handle looked good. He showed his athleticism and his ability to change direction and draw a foul. And so that's really impressive for a guy of his size and strength. It reminded me a little bit of Aaron Gordon, the way he was able to change direction and draw that foul. And so he also had a really nice block where he rose up, blocked it, and then he had so many great passes. A lot of them were from the low block or the low post, and he had 8 assists in this game. He was running the floor. And so it was a very, very good game from him. I was excited to see that. Isaiah Crawford was actually pretty similar. He had a really good game. And so both of our new 2-way guys were playing really well. He hit a couple of threes in the fourth quarter. And the thing that I've been noticing about Isaiah Crawford throughout the entire Summer League is the way that he attacks off the catch. He's able to get into his mid-ranger, which he looks comfortable with, but he's also able to drive a little further and get to his floater. And so we haven't seen him try to get all the way to the rim and finish, but he really likes to stop a little short and go to that floater, and it looks good. And he had some really nice defensive plays and a nice block. And so despite the loss, who cares about results in summer league? I thought the performances from important players like Keon, Colby, Isaac Jones, Isaiah Crawford, those guys doing things that seem like they will translate to the next level. That's what was exciting about this game for me. You also had Mason Jones showing out with good playmaking like he's been doing all summer league. And I think the one thing about this game for Mason Jones that stood out to me was how strong he looked going to the rim. And he was finishing through contact, had a big and one late in the game, knocked down the free throw to tie it 90-90. And he's a guy that doesn't shy away from the moment. We saw that in the G League where he hit some big shots. And then the other guys, Drew Timme had another solid game. Boogie Ellis a little quiet offensively, only played 15 minutes, didn't really have his shot dropping, didn't have the best game. He was really good in the first two games, had a bit of an off game here. Good win, played 7 minutes, didn't have much to do. And then just some short words about the guys that played in Sacramento. Joe Lual Achul, he stayed in Sacramento after he was playing with the team in Sacramento before, so he stayed. And he's just fun to watch. He started that game, and he's a force inside. It feels like he has that want to make things happen on both ends. He was blocking shots. He set a nice Gortat screen, which I loved. Really got the jump hook going, and so that was nice. I've just really liked what I've seen from him in all three games. Xavier Sneed finally had it going. I feel like in the first two games for Sneed, he kind of got into the right spots, but wasn't totally knocking down his shots, but started knocking down that three ball this game. He took a nice charge, and I was really just waiting for him to get going, and he finally did in this one. So that was good. He's going to be going to Vegas with the team. Adonis Arms also going to Vegas. Didn't have his shot going down, but still found a way to make an impact. I thought his playmaking was pretty good. Looked comfortable feeding the big man inside. Was finishing through contact. Hit a clutch three. And then you had Antoine Davis, who didn't have the best shooting game after he shot extremely well in the first two games. But I love watching him shoot. I think his form just looks amazing. And so that's it for both of these games. But man, I'm really excited, one, about Keon Ellis going into this next season, because I think even last season he showed that he could be more than just a 3-and-D player, that he could attack off the catch and get into that mid-range. But then also I was just really excited about Isaac Jones. Like, that was my main takeaway, was how good Isaac Jones looked. The athleticism, the three-point shot, the handle, the passing, the vision, like, it all looked really good for him. So I'm in on the Isaac Jones bandwagon. I was a little hesitant at first, but I'm all in after 3 games of Summer League. I love Summer League. It's the time where you get to overreact to these young players, have optimism. It's the reason I love the draft. And one thing that's weird to me is it feels like, especially with the Kings, because we've watched 6 games now, it feels like Summer League should be over. But for some teams, it hasn't even started. Some teams don't play these, kind of tournaments. They're not really tournaments, but, before Vegas, they don't play before Vegas. I guess in a way it's a tournament. I mean, there was a trophy, but that was just for 1 game. But anyways, that is it for this episode of the Roll Report. I don't really know what my plan is for covering Vegas Summer League, because I don't know if I'm probably not going to do a video for each game, just because that's a lot when there might not always be things to talk about. But if there is things to talk about, I'll do it after each game. But if not, then, maybe every couple of games. And so I will see you guys then. Peace.